My emotional reactions to everything this morning are just like all over the place. I mean, you get up in the morning hoping that people will be out of work. It's just not the right thing. Because if they're out of work, then the bond market will go down, the stock market will go up, Tesla will go up, and then you've got this incredible new car that Tesla comes out with, along with a, a huge amount of good news all week, and yet Tesla is just kind of meandering along. As a stock, it's meandering along with the market. It's just kind of, oh, what's the market doing today? Let's do the same thing. Actually, it's outperforming today, even though it's down, because, of course, the market is down because the bonds are up and the yields are up, rather. And, that's because what? Because the economy is really good and a lot of people are employed, and more people got employed this last month than everybody was expecting. So, yeah, okay. So markets are down around 1.5%. They just have another leg down just a few minutes ago. I mean, they started off down when the news came out about the good numbers from the employment division, and then for some reason, a little while ago, they went down again. The bonds yields were up over 10% at one point, came down to around 5, and now are kind of playing around in the middle. 10 basis point, about 7 basis points last time I checked. Of course, we'll give you all that information at the end in greater detail. But yeah, it's I'm kind of expected maybe Tesla would completely go against the grain this morning and be up in a down market. But there you go. Well, Nick Gibbs had this to say. He says, "I will take the other side of this sell-off." He thinks that maybe the sell-off is overstated, overwrought, and that things should be going the other way this morning. I certainly didn't expect the rollout of the Model Y Juniper last night. I don't think anybody else did. Came out of the blue. People had thought, I thought it was going to be January 1, January 2. A lot of other people thought it was going to be February 1, February 2. No, it just out of the blue comes last night. And the next shock was that we're not getting deliveries until March. I guess that's fine. Because the product is, well, okay, let's talk about the product. I'm no fan of SUVs. I am a sports sedan kind of guy. That's what I like. I like Jaguars. I like Dodge Challengers. Yeah, that's I drove this Volvo, I can never remember the darn numbers, but the sporty one. I really like the Model 3. It's not, not on the Jaguar level, but it's a nice looking car, very nice looking car. I would own one for absolute certain. Now, okay, so I don't know how you're going to take this. I kind of like the new Model Y Juniper. And that might mean that because I don't like SUVs and I do like sports sedans, that SUV type people won't like the new look. I'm not sure, but I like it better than most SUVs. I think they did a good job. Of course, what they tried to do a little bit here is they tried to capture a little bit of the futuristic look that they were going for in the Cybertruck and in the Cyber cab, and that's fine. I'm all for that. Everybody liked the Cyber cab a ton. So anyway, but we'll see what the overall feelings are. A lot of folks liked it right away. As I was looking over the responses on X, a ton of people, yeah, yeah, I like it, I like it. And then another bunch were like, I'm not so sure, not so great. A couple of people even really hated it. And then this morning, I'm starting to see people that are like, well, okay, you know how when your favorite singer or even a singer you just kind of like comes out with a new song and it's kind of edgy, it's kind of out there. And at first you're like, I don't know. And then you hear it and you hear it and you hear it. And then you're finally like, yeah, that's my favorite song in the whole world. Okay, I think that's kind of what's going on right now with the Model Y upgrade is that people are, and they're saying this, they're saying, well, now I looked at it two or three times, and each time I like it better. Anyway, we'll see. It's going to take a couple of days for people to kind of get it. So on the spec side, it's everything we were expecting. and more actually. There was a couple of additional things that came that were not on the Model 3 upgrade. And the Model 3 upgrade, to me, you've heard me say it over and over again. I think the Model 3 was a phenomenal. Still think the Model 3 is a absolutely incredible car. We didn't get like the steer by wire. We didn't get any like 48 volts engineering or none of those kind of extra crazy things that came with them. When I say crazy, I mean engineering wise, that we got with the Cybertruck. Some people were thinking some of that stuff might might happen rather. But anyway, I would say that this vehicle right now, my guess is it will keep Model Y in the lead. It might even increase overall sales of the Model Y this year. But I would count. I think to get the 20 to 30% increase that Elon's talking about, we're going to be counting on the new vehicle. We're going to be counting on Cybertruck sales. We're going to be counting on the what do you call it? The full self-driving becoming better and better and to the point of unsupervised. And then I think we'll beat Elon's numbers when that happens, as you know my opinion on that. Well, AJ expects overall Q1 sales of the Model Y in China to be about flat compared to last year because you see the production doesn't start. I mean, production starts now. Who knows how many they're already producing? Maybe a lot. We had those rumors earlier that they were already up to full production. Apparently, those rumors were nonsense. But we do have to wait for the Chinese government to approve the new product, and that apparently is why they're basing the deliveries to start in March. Well, by March, there's going to be parking lots full of these vehicles. They're going to be distributed out to the delivery centers. Everything's going to be ready to go. It's just a matter. The government says, okay, stamp of approval, you can start selling, and then they will sell a lot in March. And he thinks probably it'll be enough to catch up and give us about the same numbers as last year. Remember that the Chinese folks do not like to buy in the winter. They're not as the winter months see sales lags as they do in America too. We see definitely that the first quarter is not the best in terms of car sales. Here, it's also a little bit having to do with after Christmas. There, it's having to do with Chinese New Year, adding into the situation. Okay, so this is what Teslarati had to say about the new design. They say the vehicle features a completely redesigned front end and features more corners, more modern look that is similar to those of the Cybercab. What did I just say? Tesla's autonomous vehicle design. The car is also equipped with several new features like a front end camera. Oh yeah, that's right. That's kind of cool, I guess. Does that mean the rest of us need a front-end camera now? New wheels, a refined suspension. That's the thing that I was saying it really badly needed. Tesla said on its website that the new Model Y has been redesigned to maximize efficiency, using every kilowatt hour more effectively, and an updated suspension, wheels, and tires, making for a smoother, quieter ride, which is what the Model 3 had. It'll be fun to see what some of the YouTubers come out now, and I'm talking about the big ones, the million, 2 million, 3 million followers, what they have to say about this thing. Anyway, perhaps one of the most interesting additions is the front-facing bumper camera. Tesla says this will provide a wider field of view for automatic assisted driving and advanced smart summon. The automaker also flexed an updated wheel and tire package, stating that it provides better handling and grip. There is also a new launch edition that comes with limited edition badging and interior materials, some like better faux leather. Pricing for the Juniper appears to be about the same, maybe a 5% increase at the very most. It's a little unclear to me based on this launch edition compared to the regular edition anyway, but it might be about a 5% increase. Barron's noted that they noted this about the Model 3 sales after last year's upgrade, giving us a little historical perspective with regard to what we might expect from the Model Y upgrade. And they said the Model 3 underperformed the overall EV market by about 30 percentage points last year. That is actually better than its performance in 2023. Model 3 sales grew 4% year over year, but the US EV market grew 46%. For an underperformance of roughly 42 percentage points. All that means is that the update to the Model 3 helped, but it was not a magic bullet, which has been shocking me ever since, as you well know if you follow this channel. Then Barron's, they asked several technical analysts about their thinking about the Tesla stock right now. And here's what they said. They said, for now, it's all about respecting support, giving the preceding parabolic move. Okay, we had this massive move up after the election. And it was already going up before the election. This is according to Cap Thesis founder and market technician Frank Caparelli. He sees support a little above 350, similar to Stockton, who was mentioned up earlier. While the stock doesn't need to drop that much from here, if it does fall to a cluster of support, it should be an enticing spot for prospective dip buyers. I think the dip is now. It has been really solid in this 389, 390 range. We'll see. Maybe it goes lower today. Upside remains between 480 to 500, according to Chart Smarter founder and market technician Douglas Bush. That's the play. He's looking for Tesla shares to hit his target in the first half of 2025, which is, I think, my feeling. Also, I think the range is going to be 380 to 480, maybe 500 after earnings. And then we break out above 500, of course, when we get unsupervised driving. Now, there's other things that could happen. And of course, the market, the broader macro, which is what right now Tesla is just chasing the macro around. None of these announcements are impacting the stock. It is really just chasing the macro around. Chuck Cook said, last week, Chuck Cook, I mentioned that Chuck had mentioned that he saw this lot outside one of the showrooms, the Tesla showrooms, and there was a whole bunch of Cybertrucks sitting there. And then he says this morning, guess what? The Jacksonville Service Center, checked it out this morning. All those trucks are gone. So just not true that the Cybertruck is not selling. So that's good news. All right, this is Randy Kirk. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit notify. What do we got today? We got Brian Wang on the Late Show at 7:45. We've got Larry Goldberg, I think, tonight with us, because you see, Larry is doing tomorrow morning also, or tomorrow around noon. He and I will do the analysis of the Cathie Wood report tonight, which should be huge given what's happened today with bonds and the overall employment numbers. Anyway, very interested to see what Cathie has to say. So Larry and I will be doing that tomorrow around noon. And then, so I'm pretty sure Larry will still be on tonight to help us with Good News Friday. Anyway, that's what the lineup is for today. And of course, you can always go down and do Patreon. Because it's easy. It just takes a second. You can do it. I know you got it in you. The employment report was not what Wall Street wanted. We've already said that, although I think it will be a blip. That's my personal opinion. Now we're going to be on tenterhooks waiting for the CPI report, which is unlikely to be too hot. Why do I say that? Well, the reason I say that is because all indication is that housing has cooled. Rents cooled a while ago. That should be working its way through the system because it takes a while. And then housing now is down a bit. And not when we say down, it's not as hot, around 4% instead of around 6%. So I think that's going to help because it's a very, very big component of the CPI. So there's a few problems in the food category where we've got eggs and beef going up, but those are issues that should go away. They have to do with the drought in the kind of the cattle country and with the bird flu, of course. So overall, I think the CPI is not going to be that bad. I think it'll be fine, and that will moderate people's feeling about this jobs report today. Back to the jobs report, total non-farm payroll employment increased by 256,000. That is a good number in December. I mean, it's a good number if you want people employed. And the unemployment changed a little. It went to 4.1%. I think it was it at 4.2 last month? You know what? I forgot to look that up. But in either case, 4.1 is fine. Employment trended up. Guess where? Come on. Healthcare, government, social assistance. Retail trade was up in December, but that followed a big loss in November. Other than that, other categories Basically no change. The October-November numbers were not substantially adjusted, which is extremely unusual recently. Just barely, just little tiny adjustments. The annual adjustment also on the household survey, that's the 4.1, 4.2 number, that also was barely changed over the last 12 months. 1 month was up a tenth and 1 month was down a tenth. So it was really the modifications based on new information didn't change it much. And this 4.1 to 4.3 range is now month after month after month. So very, very, very steady. And then average hour earnings were up 3.9% year over year, which is what was estimated and what expected, and will probably be okay with the Fed, although I think they'd like to see it closer to 3. But for the productivity side of it, for the side of the average employee out there, maybe getting some real earnings instead of just fake earnings with inflation being high, that's going to be good. So they'll have more actual money in their pocket to go out and spend. On other news, a Trump-Putin meeting is already being arranged. I would think that would have a calming effect on the market. Of course, some people will say, oh, Trump and Putin are going to go have their, they're going to decide. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about those guys. I think it's a good thing. I'm really glad they're getting together. I'm very hopeful that they will figure out a way to end the fighting in the Ukraine that makes sense. Some are saying that the bond market is this is a big theme now. The bond market is mostly worried about Trump's policies on immigration and on tariffs, that those things are going to be inflationary. I'll take the opposite side of that. I don't think the tariffs, first of all, if the tariffs created any inflation at all, it's a one-time event. It's not ongoing. I just reported that the other day. I'm not the only person saying that. That is economically true. If you raise the price of something one time and there's no expectation of an increase the next year, you'd have to okay, we'll increase the tariffs 5% this year and then 5% next year and 5%. Now that would be inflationary. But if you say, oh, I'm going to increase the tariffs one time by 10%, and then I'm done, one and done, then that's not inflationary. That's a one-time price increase. With regard to immigration, yes, immigration could be inflationary on labor costs. If you have fewer people chasing the same number of jobs, then I'm sorry, if you have, that'd be deflationary. If you have that'd be inflationary. You have fewer people chasing the same number of jobs, then job rates could go up. At the same time, those people going away means that there's less demand for goods. There's less demand for rent. There's less demand for housing of all kinds. There's less demand for new cars. I mean, so you've got, or used cars in this particular case, probably. But anyway, it's which is that? Is that inflationary or not? I think it goes both ways. I think what's on the mind of bond players is the federal deficit. But then again, if you're a regular, you know that. And also the business climate proven by what happened this morning. So what I'm focused on is getting that deficit down and getting the productivity numbers up. If we can get the deficit number down, Elon just said the other day, look, the $2 trillion number, that's aspirational. If we can do half that, it'd be amazing. He's right. That's 100% true. I hate to see him walking it back so early. But anyway, whatever number if they get $1 trillion a year in cuts, oh my gosh, the bonds would probably drop back down to 3% or something. Anyway, and then if we get productivity numbers like I'm expecting later this year, they're very solid, maybe in the 2.5% to 3% range, maybe even more, that would be huge. And then good earnings. Good earnings can cover a lot of sin. Earnings start next week. We'll see what happens there. Remember, also keep this always in mind. Bond yields are only high by recent standards, not historical standards. These are normal bond yields, 10-year and 20, whatever. Bond yields by historical standards. These are normal. And the market, even after today's, coming down a 1.5, the markets are still only down 5% after 2 years of back-to-back 20% gains. So there's no panic here. This is actually pretty solid in terms of the overall economic and stock market situation. Okay, so the markets have bounced back a little bit now. Is Nicholas going to be right? And Randy just said also, I think this is a blip. Okay, so we've got the Dow, which was down more, is only down 1.29 now. The NASDAQ, which was down a lot more, is only down 1.63%. The S&P, which was down more, is only down 1.35%. And Tesla is outperforming the NASDAQ, is only down 1.35%. And it theoretically should be down about 3.3%. You've got the rest of the Magnificent Seven down, except for Meta, which had a couple of down days after being way up. It is up slightly. NVIDIA is down 2.95. That probably might have something to do still with that China additional export constraints put on by the Biden administration on NVIDIA chips to China. That might be what's impacting. But anyway, overall, all these stocks are now moving up again. NVIDIA was down more. So in general, these are all moving up now after being way down. And all the Cathie Woods, exactly the same. They're down pretty significantly. Square down 4.6%. CRISPR down 4.84%. ARC-K down 3%. But they were all down more, and they're all rebounding up in the other direction right now. All right, so what does that mean for the day? Who knows? Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the bonds because, why? Because they're driving everything. And it'll be interesting to see what happened to the bonds since I last looked, which again, they were down 10. I'm sorry, we're up 10. The yields were up 10. I'm having a lot of trouble here getting my thing to open right. Okay, here we go. Trump was just sentenced without penalty in the New York hush money case. So yeah, what everybody said, they just want to call him a convicted felon, no penalty at all. When was the last time you saw anybody that got convicted of a felony and got zero, you can't make this stuff up. The 10-year is now at up 5.2 basis points at 4.733. Again, it was up 10. It came back down to 5, went to 7. Now it's at 5. So a lot of fluctuations going on there. You've got the 2-year is up 8 basis points at 4.344. You've got the 1 month up 0.6 of a basis point. It had been jumping up a lot more, so it is now moderated a little bit in its activity. All right. So let's go ahead and look at oil, which was up also earlier. Let's see if it's continued up. Wow. So oil is up 2.82. Traders are still worried about tougher Russia sanctions. I think they would be right to be worried about tougher sanctions in Russia, but the United States is pumping, Canada's pumping, Argentina's pumping. I don't know, this makes no sense to me, but I don't pretend to be an expert on oil, except to the extent that you hear me on a regular basis making certain predictions and being right a lot on the directionality of oil. But right now I'm wrong, completely wrong. I'm expecting it to go down. It is going up a lot. Natural gas also up 5% this morning at 3.886, heading towards $4 again. Look at that. Gold, now that's usually related to the weather, but who knows? It could also be related to the fact that the new President Trump is planning to ship a lot of this off to Europe, hoping also to put pressure on Putin right now. Gold is rebounding, is over 2,700. I predicted that. See, and I don't know anything about gold. Gold is at 27.25 this morning, heading towards all-time highs. I'm going to guess that we're going to bump up against all-time highs, maybe break through. I think that, let me just look real quick. I think it's 27. I'll never figure it out from that. Okay, let's go back. So I think 2750 comes to mind, 2740 something. Anyway, I think we'll be challenging that later today or maybe tomorrow. Silver back up at 3148. And of course, its recent high 34. Copper is up 0.55% this morning at $4.33. Around where it's been. The dollar is rebounding, of course, because why? Because bonds are up. And you have got Bitcoin up 1660 at 93,377, which is way down from where it was just a few days ago. All right. So overall, I would say this is a mushy, I'm going to call this a mushy day. The jobs information was fantastic. The economy is doing quite nicely. You can't, there was, I mean, apparently I saw some reports that, again, full-time jobs actually decreased and part-time jobs were where we got the increase. I haven't looked that deep into it, but that was one headline I saw. Basically, though, the economy, I think, is fine right now, and the indication would be is going to be fine. And with Trump coming in, I'm expecting it to be fine. Now, keep in mind, Elon has said we could see some pain from these government cuts. So there's a possibility that later on this year we could see some pain. But you need some pain once in a while before you get the good days, the good times. All right. Later on, as mentioned, we will have Brian Wang and Larry Goldberg later today. And last night, I'm going to put the card up for Bradford. We had he characterized it as being an extremely good show. So you might want to go take a look at that if you didn't already watch it. I think it will be instructive. We did, the funny part is that the Juniper information came out like 1 minute after we finished recording. So there's nothing about the Juniper in there except a little speculation. All right. I think that is all I have for you, except I'd love for you to go do something in Patreon and help the cause. Been great talking to you.